Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. CRC here with you. Today we're going to be talking about this, which is an oldie but goodie that is having a resurrection here in 2018, and that is the TBS jelloguard. As you can see, this is made by Team Black Sheep, and it was made back in the day to work on a GoPro Hero 3 or 4, where you have 3 interchangeable lenses, ND filters actually, to pop into here and pop on top of your Hero 3 or 4, so that way you can eliminate jello. Now, depending upon the lighting conditions, even the most perfectly tuned and set up quad can still have jello because of the way the GoPro's rolling shutter works. I use stick-on filters currently, and they help really give a more cinematic and better look, and it's basically a set it and forget it. Problem is the one filter doesn't work for all lighting conditions. So now we have 3 different darknesses which will work in 3 different lighting conditions and create just the correct amount of motion blur that we want in our video, and also give us the most natural colors that we can get as well. So honestly, I've been pretty happy with the stick-on filters, but I've been wanting to try the glass because everybody says that it definitely is superior. The problem is how do we get these mounted to our GoPro session? I have 3 different ships that I would like to fly these on. I have a Reverb, I have my MB Epic, and I also have a Flight Club Proton. I haven't been able to find a solution to the Proton yet because the universal printing solutions that they have online just don't seem to fit my mounts. But what I have been able to do is I have been able to acquire a mount for my Reverb, where actually these will slide in right here, and I also have printed out a 3D GoPro mount for my Epic, which will allow me to replace the filters here in the front as well. So what I want to do is do some testing. I want to see if this really does make a huge difference, enough of a difference to basically not have to use the cool like captain seats and stuff that I like to use on my Epic, and also not be able to use the stick-on filters all the time. So we're going to test these in some overcast, and we're also going to test these in bright and sunny days, because even on the most cloudy day you can still get some jello out of your picture depending upon how you're flying. So usually I find that I just need a little bit to knock off the edge. So we'll test with this, which is maybe an ND2 or ND4, and this one, which is maybe a 4 or 8. I'm not 100% sure. So we'll do some testing on the Reverb and on the Epic, and we'll see what we can get.
Alright, so I don't want this to turn into like a color grading Adobe Premiere type of video, but you have to just kind of look at it and see what we're dealing with. Now, obviously, it's no secret, the quality of the glass is definitely better than your stick-on type of ND filters. So it basically comes down to how much editing do you want to do, how much do you care about your video, and how easy is it for you to switch back and forth. Like if you have a fleet of 4 of the same quads that has a mount that will accept the glass from the jello filter, then you're good. And if you're in my situation where you have a quad that has a mount made for it and a fleet of 2 that kind of does, but you like using the other mount better. So like I'm talking about the Epic 5.5 inch that I have with the captain seat. I like using that mount a lot better than anything else. There is the GoPro printed mount that I showed you earlier, but I just don't like taking the GoPro in and out of the front like that. It's kind of a pain in the neck or whatever. But we'll take a look at some examples here. So this is with the medium glass, and all I have done, these clips here have absolutely no color correction to them at all. So you can see here by our RGB waveforms that our white balance is pretty good. If you look at the scope here, you can see that we've got some going to the yellow, some going to the blue side, and a little bit going to the red. So we're pretty good. And I just kept these clips pretty much all the same. We can kind of, fast forward and fly around. One thing that's really cool about the glass is, the lens flaring is a little bit more natural looking than with the filter, the stick-on type of filters. And, if you're looking at the picture and you're like, well, it's a little washed out, we can always pull that down some with curves, or you can go into like basic corrections, and I don't know, you can do something with that, or you can auto correct it, whatever you want to do. So if we go to the next darker filter right here, we can see pretty much the same thing. For some reason, it looks like the exposure. It looks like the exposure is about the same for some reason, but I haven't really done any change. I didn't do any changes to these clips at all. Now, if we look at the stick-on filter, we can definitely see here that out of the box, the white balance is off definitely more on the stick-on type of filter, which is probably, I think, an ND8. And we can see that it's definitely pointed to the red side. You can see all the red here in the histogram and in the RGB right here. And then if we go to somewhere where like the light was not as good as in this clip here, you can see, again, pretty much the same thing with the stick-on type of filter. But, like I said, if we go and look at the corrected values, so here is like the medium glass, and here is the dark glass. So I guess we can tell a little bit after it's corrected that this one here looks a little bit lighter, and then after some white balance correcting, you can kind of see how this is a little bit dimmer. And if we go to the stick-on filter, we can see that it's a little bit dimmer in this example. I tweaked this about as much as I can get. Maybe we can pull the reds down just a touch, but don't want to go too much. And then, of course, in the dark light, that's kind of like what we're starting with right there. And again, if you want to start raising up your curves a little bit to get yourself a more natural image, we can try to kind of start playing around with that as well to kind of fine-tune everything a little bit. So I guess in the end, it just comes down to all about what you're looking for and what you're willing to deal with. And really, the quads. So the conclusion that I can come to is the darker the glass, the same tendencies as far as the color correction goes, because we can see that in uncorrected here with the light glass, everything is pretty much spot on. The darker glass, the red starts to creep up a little bit, and the stick-on filter, the red is totally being blown up by that. And then as the conditions darken and maybe the GoPro has to work harder, it seems that the red is amplified. But again, you can see that we can easily correct that, and then we can go straight into different things as far as curves and change with saturations and stuff. So, this is pretty much the image that I like coming from the stick-on ND filter, and this would be the image from the glass, but it needs a little bit, they both need a little bit of work. This is just kind of something that I was throwing together to try to put something together here. So, yes, the glass is better. The stick-ons do work just as well. You just have to put a little bit more work into them in the post-processing part. But if you have a fleet of quads and one that will accept the JelloGuard glass and make it easy to get in and out and all that kind of stuff, then by all means go for it. Those things are like fingerprint magnets, I'll tell you that right now. It's crazy. So I hope you kind of got a little bit of something out of this. Kind of a weird direction, and maybe I'll do more testing and stuff as well. But I'm going to leave the glass on my reverb and fly it around a lot more and play around with it and see how things go. And luckily I got 2 sessions now, so I don't have to worry about ripping off stickers and all that kind of stuff. That's a big help as well. So anyway, talk to you guys later.